So I was watching YouTube one night, and a video from a guy called Metal Gear Lore Keeper shows up in my recommended feed. It was about how the Twin Snakes expands upon the Metal Gear lore. So I said, you know what? I'll buy it. I'll see what this is all about. And he has some extremely weird takes. Let me just show you.
When it comes to the Twin Snakes, people always say the same things.
The voice acting is so much worse than the original. The music isn't as iconic as the original. It doesn't have the same atmosphere as the original.
Every single time you hear one of these criticisms, it's somebody echoing something that somebody else said on Reddit, or Twitter, or 4chan, or any other cesspool on the internet where everybody has to share a single brain cell that's been collecting dust for years. It's too bad, really, because there are a lot of people out there who would really like the Twin Snakes, but they've been discouraged from even trying the game by people who suck the life out of any room they find themselves in. Life is short, right? And people just don't have time to waste on a game that might not be worth the precious seconds they have left. So I don't blame anybody for being on the fence about MGS1's only remake. But if you're trying to wrap your head around Metal Gear's complicated narrative and you don't include the Twin Snakes in the canon, you're not getting the full story. So let's play Metal Gear Mythbusters and go over some of the reasons why the Twin Snakes deserves way more praise than it gets.
Now I'll give credit where credit's due. This is an amazing way to start out a video. It's intriguing. It makes me want to hear more what you have to say, but the problem is, it kind of nosedives after this point. Like here, look at this.
I don't know where it started, but when the fanboys get backed into a corner and they're forced to admit how ridiculous it is to say that a remake of a canon game isn't canon, then as a compromise, they learn to say that they consider MGS1 to be how things really went down, and the Twin Snakes is how Otacon remembers it.
And I mean, that kind of makes sense. You know, the way Otacon talks about Snake and talks to Snake throughout the series, there was a giant bit of respect. Like, look at this conversation with MGS4.
Yes! You're the toughest, craziest, most hardcore badass on the planet! You're the shit!
Now, I wouldn't blame people who would just think that this was, Otacon's recollection, just because of how high of a regard Otacon has for Snake, but I don't, subscribe to that theory. I believe it's one of Raiden's, VR training missions. That would explain the ability to, jump from ledges, that would make sense for a handful of reasons, and also just the amount of flips Snake does. You don't see him do it throughout any of the games in the series. You don't see him do that in 2. So yeah, just look at this and tell me Raiden wouldn't do this.
Is he gonna do it? Yes, 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 yes! Can you take me higher?
Anyway, there's this other coping mechanism that people throw around thoughtlessly, and it's hilarious whenever I see it, because people always act like they figured out who really shot JFK. They say something like, I always figured that the Twin Snakes was one of Raiden's VR training simulations. This is actually halfway correct. It's just backwards. The original Metal Gear Solid is the simulation. Wait, I take that back. As I explained in this video, both the original and the remake are training sims, but between the two, the Twin Snakes is the more faithful recreation.
That's a nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source?
This is confirmed in MGS2 when you call Snake with the PSG-1 equipped.
Although you've probably fired a few rounds in VR training, there are a few differences in handling the rifle you should be aware of. First, that the PSG-1 is equipped with a special magnification adjustable scope. For precision shooting, it allows you to zoom in on your target, and for wide range viewing, all you have to do is zoom out. Another difference is that you aren't limited to firing from the prone position. In short, you can fire from a crouching or standing position.
So the Twin Snakes can't be the simulation because unlike the original game, you can shoot standing, crouched, or prone.
That's it? That's your big I got you moment? The fact that you can stand up and crouch whilst using the PSG-1? That's fucking... Dude, huh? Yeah. It's because it's using the MGS2 engine. The reason why Snake says that to Raiden is to tell the player that the game has changed and that they can do more now. Most people write those sections off. It's the same thing with press the action button to climb. No one takes this and thinks, yep, that's a little accurate. That's exactly what Major Zero says at the beginning. Press the action button to climb up the tree, Snake. People look at that and say, oh, that's a tutorial. That's telling you that stuff has changed. This is how you do that. No one takes those and say, see guys, that's my big gotcha moment that everything that takes place in Metal Gear is a game. Like, what are you saying, brother?
Both games are canon. I never said that the Twin Snakes is canon and the original game isn't, so you can stop writing that comment because you look like an idiot. Look, if you think the Twin Snakes is somehow less legitimate than the original game, then I'm sorry to disappoint you, because the remake is actually the more accurate version of events.
Dude, I don't know why you're trying to lie when you literally state, not 5 minutes ago, that I just showed, that you believe that the Twin Snakes is more accurate and the events in it are more accurate. That means that it's more truthful, which means in the story, when it comes to video games, and especially the story, when something is more true, that means it's more canon. And you saying that Twin Snakes is more accurate means that MGS is less accurate, meaning it's less canon. Yes, the basic story of the two games are the same. I won't deny that, because it is. It's the cutscenes and how everybody acts and talks in the game that are different. And you sitting here saying that that is more accurate to what actually happened and what actually transpired means you believe the Twin Snakes is more canon. Be that you directly think that, which I do believe, I will genuinely believe that you believe. That's me saying believe a lot. Let me cut down the believe word. But I genuinely think that you think that the Twin Snakes is canon. But you won't come out here and say it. You won't come out here and say that TTS is more canon than, the classic one from 98. You're not going to sit here and say that because, that's going to invite people to go, hold the fucking phone, buckaroo. You can't just come out here and say some bullshit like that. Because that's what was going to happen if you blatantly said that. But you keep it vague so people can go, oh, you see, he doesn't think it, but you do. You genuinely believe that the game's more canon. You will sit here and lie. When I can go back not 5 minutes and say, and fucking prove that you said that it's more accurate. And once again, I hate repeating myself, but I'm going to have to because it seems that you don't understand this yet. But when you claim something is more accurate, you're also claiming it's more truthful. And when it comes to stories, be it video game, movie, books, whatever the fuck, that means it's more canon. And that means whatever is less accurate is less canon.
Secondly, I gotta point out that those flashbacks are still images with a ton of visual noise and distortion. That would indicate that Snake is struggling to remember details from his past because his memory has been affected by his accelerated aging. Same thing with the dream sequence at the start of that section of the game. It's a dream sequence. He's still in a dream, Snake Eater. And dreams never play out the same way as the memories that inspire them. That reminds me of a study from a while back that showed that whenever people remember something, they're actually remembering the last time they remembered that thing, so memories can change drastically over time.
Okay, man, then with his logic, that means what you said here no longer applies.
Then I'm sorry to disappoint you, because the remake is actually the more accurate version of events. And how do we know? Ironically, it's because of the lower quality voice acting. When you go back to Shadow Moses in MGS4, the audio flashbacks you hear as you explore the facility use the voices from the Twin Snakes, not the original game.
So by your logic, these are both memories. One is the PS1 graphics in both the dream sequence and every time Mel shows up and flashes, the PS1 graphics on her. And the other is the audio from the Twin Snakes. These are both memories. And you said yourself memories can be faulty. You even made this whole big thing like, oh, the reason why the camouflages can't be taken 100% is because Snake is having a hard time recollecting because of his old accelerated aging. Yet you won't say the same thing about the audio in the Shadow Moses gameplay in MGS4. Why? Why do you staunchly say stuff in cutscenes here matters less than gameplay here, even though in your past video, because you yourself pointed to a past video to explain why MGS1 is a training mission, is a VR mission. I can point back to your video about 2-ish, 3-ish months ago about Big Boss, where you say this.
The cutscenes take priority over the gameplay in terms of canon.
So yeah, by your logic, you should believe the cutscenes more, that show the, PS1 look. So the cutscenes with Meryl, cutscene with Psycho Mantis, and the cutscene with the Colonel when it shows their PS1 design. You should believe that more than the gameplay. Yet in this instance, you believe the gameplay more than the cutscene. So which is it? Does the gameplay take precedent, or does the cutscenes trump the gameplay? Which one is it? Because you can't just say that with MGSV. If you're going to have that logic with MGSV, you have that logic with the entire series. It can't be a game by game basis. So tell me, which is it?
Sometimes I come across one or several dozen people who refuse to accept that the Twin Snakes is canon because they just don't like it. And that's obviously a really stupid reason to deny facts, right? I mean, I don't like the Phantom Pain, or Guns of the Patriots, or Snake Eater, or Sons of Liberty.
Then why in the living hell did you make a channel solely dedicated to Metal Gear if you don't like a good, not even just portion, a majority of the games in the series? You don't like V, you don't like 4, you don't like 3, and you don't like 2. You don't like Metal Gear, and that's fine. I don't expect everybody to enjoy Metal Gear, but I at least expect someone who makes a channel solely dedicated on the goddamn thing to at least have some enjoyment with the games. Yet, you state when someone points this out in your comment section, you say this, as someone who knows the story better than anybody else, when you don't. You say this because you're trying to undo the bad habits the game companies adopted as a result of Metal Gear's success. You don't enjoy the games. You just hate. You hate the fact that people like these games. You hate the fact that these became popular and influential. You don't understand the reason why people like it. You can't understand it, I don't think. And that makes you upset. So you make a channel discussing the lore about a series of games you don't like. I'm going to make another assumption. I'm going to make another quick assumption. I'm going to assume you don't like Peace Walker. I'm going to assume you don't like Ground Zeroes. Because Ground Zeroes is just the, prologue to V. And I'm going to say one more assumption, and I would consider this slanderous. Most people who are fans of Metal Gear would say this is slanderous. I think you think... No. Let me rephrase that. I bet you believe that Metal Gear Survive is the greatest Metal Gear game of all time. With how horrible your takes it. This is all I had to watch before knowing I had to make a video on this. You don't like Metal Gear, yet you hoist yourself in this position you just hoist yourself in this position of power, saying that you're the lore keeper, saying you know the lore better than anybody else, yet When I look at this, I look at a person who doesn't enjoy the games trying to ruin everyone else's enjoyment. You can enjoy the Twin Snakes. Everyone's allowed to enjoy their own thing. But you can't sit here and say something that has been basically universally stated to be, some stuff be out of place and redundant and silly to say that that is more important and more canon, more accurate, is what you say, to what happened in 1998's Metal Gear. You don't like Metal Gear. I hope to Christ that you fucking remember that you don't like Metal Gear and go, man, I'm unhappy making these videos about a series that I don't like. Maybe I should go back to the drawing board and find something else to talk about. Because you seem like someone who doesn't have fun. You seem like a person who's just real fun at parties, someone who's just the greatest person. And what I mean by that is I mean you are let down. I truly believe this. I can't with you. You don't like Metal Gear. This has to be rage bait. If this isn't fucking rage bait, what the fuck?
There's a particular scene in the Twin Snakes that people use as justification to hate on the game, and it's honestly depressing to think about. The scene in question is the one where President Baker forgets Meryl's codec frequency. In the original game, Snake voices his frustration under his breath, but for the most part, he's unfazed. In the Twin Snakes, though, he reacts like this.
Damn!
A while back, somebody decided that this reaction wasn't true to Snake's character. Fairly recently, actually, I saw a comment that said that the real Solid Snake would never point a gun at a defenseless old man. And I gotta say, Kenneth Baker is not a defenseless old man. The word you're looking for is defense contractor.
What the hell is this?
Oh my god. You know what? I'll give him a chance. Let's see where this is going, huh?
Let me put a couple things into perspective for you. Solid Snake was retired. All he wanted was to live a quiet life with his dogs, but one day, armed men pull him out of his bed, then he finds out that somebody who looks exactly like him is trying to start World War III. So Snake swims by himself to the world's largest walk-in freezer, and it's there that he's told that his government, the government that he fought and bled for, is building the same doomsday weapon that he suffered through nightmare after post-traumatic stress-induced nightmare to destroy. Twice! And guess who spearheaded the project? It was Kenneth Baker, president of ArmsTech. If Baker hadn't decided to build Metal Gear Rex, the entire Shadow Moses incident would have never happened.
Damn!
Here's a question for you. What was the purpose of Outer Heaven? That's right. Big Boss was trying to create a world where soldiers would always have a place in society, instead of being exploited as cannon fodder and then left in the gutter to rot after they served their purpose. What do you think drove a man like Big Boss to take such European extreme measures? Ironically, Baker says it best.
Just call it the military-industrial complex.
A system perpetuated by weapons manufacturers like ArmsTech and their White House lobbyists who forced the United States to be at war with somebody at all times. So look at this scene from Snake's perspective, through Snake's eyes, if you will. Companies like ArmsTech are directly responsible for creating the circumstances that led to monsters like Big Boss, as well as copycats like his newfound twin brother. So for Baker to be so careless, for him to show so little remorse for his actions, for him to be so apathetic as to forget the phone number of the person who has the one thing that could help Snake prevent an international disaster from claiming an untold number of lives, this is precisely the right reaction to that.
Oh my fucking Christ, dude. You know what? Maybe you're a little slow. Maybe I'll have to explain this to you, but let's go back about 5 minutes before the Ocelot boss fight. You blow open the door, and you see President Baker there, beaten and tortured half to death with bombs, all strung around his fucking body. Need I remind you who was beating and torturing him? Not just some random genome soldier. No. The master interrogator, Revolver, Ocelot, who, if I remember correctly, said this once.
It's really not that bad. It's the ultimate form of expression.
So, if you believe, so what's more believable, that President Baker was intentionally being a jackass, or, after being brutally beaten, tortured for God knows how many hours from a person who gets pleasure from torturing people, I generally don't think it's very outlandish for a 70-year-old man who was just beaten and tortured to forget one thing. No matter how important it is, he slips for 1 second, a momentary lapse in judgment, and he goes right back to going, oh yes, it's on the back of the CD case. So, you're telling me that Snake getting up, throwing a temper tantrum, and putting a gun on President Baker just for him to say, oh yeah, it's on the back of the CD case, is more in line with Snake's character than him being slightly frustrated. I don't think anybody, except for maybe you, would act that way in that situation. I think most people would go, yeah, this guy's fucking old. He was just brutally beaten and tortured for God knows how long. Let me give him a fucking second. Let me not fucking stamp my feet and fucking, and also throw my head back and then pull a gun on the man. Do you not have a fucking brain in that head of yours? Do you not? Because this makes no sense. No one would act like this. Like, if this is how you would act, like, Jesus fucking Christ, man.
In comparison to MGS 1 and MGS 3, the atmosphere of Sons of Liberty is thinner than a tortilla that Fat Man sat on. Am I saying MGS 2 is bad because of that? Of course not. The terrible writing is what makes it bad. All I'm saying is that MGS 2's atmosphere isn't as good as it was in the other games. The Twin Snakes is just Metal Gear Solid with the same gameplay and atmosphere of MGS 2. And interestingly enough, no one who's criticized the remake has ever levied that same criticism at Sons of Liberty.
This can't actually be a fucking argument. This can't be your fucking argument. The reason why nobody levies the same opinion on the fucking Twin Snakes atmosphere, and they don't use that to criticize MGS2's atmosphere, is because they're two different fucking games. The reason why people are so critical over the atmosphere of the Twin Snakes is because it is a fucking remake of a fucking game from 1999. It doesn't capture the same tone as a game from 1998. Sorry, it came out in 1998. Sorry, slip of the tongue. But yeah. Are you fucking, like, I actually have to ask this. Do you have some sort of learning disability? Because it seems to me you do, because you don't seem to realize the difference between one game and another. The reason why people will sit here and complain about the atmosphere of one, but not the atmosphere of another, is because they're different games. You, oh my fucking God. Oh my fucking God. Are you fucking stupid? What the fuck are they pumping in the water over there in fucking California? Huh? They fucking pumping shit that just fucking melts your fucking frontal fucking lobe and your fucking ability to think critically? Like, Jesus fucking Christ, man. This is the basic thing that everyone figures out. Oh, this game and this game don't have the same atmosphere. I wonder what that could be. Could it be one game is different and the other game is also different? The reason why people get upset when a remake, a remaster, or whatever have you doesn't capture the same feel or the same tone or the same atmosphere is because it has the atmosphere, it has the tone, it has everything that it needs to be good. That's why people chastise, that's why people criticize the Twin Snakes atmosphere. Why? Because it is worse than a game from 1998. The people don't criticize MGS2's atmosphere like that because it is a different game trying to have a different tone, a different story. Like, you saying that, right, is the most retarded thing I've ever heard. Seriously. Imagine if I try to make that argument or something. Like, let's say that they remade my favorite Guitar Hero game, Guitar Hero 2. However, it doesn't have the same character designs of Guitar Hero 2. It doesn't have the same songs as Guitar Hero 2. It doesn't have the same atmosphere. It doesn't have the same stages. It's basically an entirely new game with the name MGS2, not MGS, sorry, Guitar Hero 2 slapped on front of it. Imagine if that happened. Would I be incorrect in saying this remaster, this remake, this whatever have you of my favorite game is worse in every way to the original? By your fucking logic, I should be. I should be over here shouting from the rooftops. Like, let's say it had the Warriors of Rock engine and the look and the feel of Warriors of Rock. Guess what? Warriors of Rock is a great game. It's not fucking GH2. That's the thing. Me saying the atmosphere and the feel of this game is different than the original, meaning it's bad, that does not mean I'm saying at the same time Warriors of Rock is bad because it is the same engine, the same atmosphere. No. That is a fucking retarded What fucking troglodyte are you? Who created this? Who created the person who created this shit?
Stuff like that. And why wouldn't you want more of a good thing? Well, I guess when you're a member of the KFP, that's the Kojak-ass Fellatio Party, you'd rather eat a bucket full of his bullshit than admit that somebody actually did his job better than him.
And there it is. Clear as day, fucking crystal clear. He hates Hideo Kojima. He'd much rather, like, if you've seen the video, even from the clips I've seen, in the beginning, he censors Hideo Kojima's name every time it should show up. Be it writer or the director. Guess what's censored? Hideo Kojima. Why? Because this guy hates Hideo Kojima. For no other reason than a political reason. Which is fucking crazy. He even calls, like, I'm not even just gonna put words in his mouth. I'm just gonna fucking play what he fucking said.
As known racist and card-carrying pedophile, Hideous Kojak-ass didn't like...
Like, it's insane to me how this guy has not been basically ritually sacrificed by anybody on the internet yet. He contradicts himself multiple times. He despises basically the entire game series. He acts as if he is a fucking voice of power with the fucking lore. And yet, he despises Hideo Kojima, the creator of the game. I'm not saying here that you need to fucking love and adore everything he does. I don't. I'm not the biggest fan of Death Stranding. That doesn't mean I don't fucking at least have a bit of respect for the man. He's made some of my favorite games, some of my favorite characters of all time. And he's made a lot of people's favorite characters and favorite games of all time. This guy is a little punk fucking bitch. I'm just gonna say it. I don't respect this man. Metal Gear Lorekeeper, I do not respect. I don't think anybody truly respects him. He had a little trouble, I think, from what I heard, this is of course hearsay. I don't want this to be pinned on him as definitive proof, but he has been known to cause some trouble in forum pages about Metal Gear. So he's not well respected by people in the Metal Gear scene, but we don't have YouTubers, like big YouTubers in Metal Gear, talking about him because he is kind of relatively a small channel, only about 7,000 subscribers. A lot bigger than me, of course, but he's not going to fly under my radar. This is a fucking type of person who you may say gatekeeping is wrong, but if it keeps people like this, who despise the source material, who despise the fans of said source material, and despise the creator, then maybe gatekeeping should be fucking put into place. This man holds zero respect for Metal Gear. He only likes one game. I bet he likes Survive. He fucking blatantly calls Hideo Kojima, he calls Hideo Kojima a racist. Why? Oh yeah, because the character from Costa Rica isn't black. And the people from Nicaragua aren't black. Because they don't look like the stereotypical fucking, Central American. And I bet his fucking idea is a fucking guy in a serape and a fucking sombrero with fucking maracas. Because they don't look like that. He calls it racist. This guy is a fucking punk.